The starship Eos floated alone in the endless black of space. Its hull was scarred with deep gashes from countless battles, and smoke drifted from damaged engines. Inside, the crew moved slowly, their faces pale with exhaustion, their bodies aching from wounds that refused to heal. Captain Mara sat in her chair on the bridge, staring at the stars through the cracked viewport. Her hands shook slightly as she activated the communication console. A soft beep confirmed the message had been sent. The distress signal was a call to the galaxy, a desperate plea for help. The humans aboard Eos knew it was a long shot. Most species ignored such calls, and even if someone answered, they might not arrive in time. Mara's voice trembled when she whispered, "Signal sent." There was a strange mix of fear and hope in her eyes, the kind that humans carried deep inside when everything seemed lost. The crew, sensing the tension, stopped their work for a moment. Silence filled the bridge, broken only by the soft hum of the dying engines. Outside, space was cold and unfeeling. Stars shone like distant eyes, indifferent to the small ship struggling to survive. Yet somewhere in that vast darkness, other beings were listening. The galaxy had heard tales of humans before, stories of their stubbornness, their courage, and their uncanny ability to survive when all odds were against them. Many dismissed it as myth. Many underestimated them. But now the truth would arrive firsthand. Hours passed. The Eos drifted, damaged and weary. The crew moved like shadows, checking systems, patching leaks, keeping the fires under control. Lieutenant Cade, the ship's second-in-command, walked over to Mara and whispered, "Captain, why do I feel like they're coming?" Mara didn't answer immediately. She only watched the dark expanse ahead. She had that same feeling herself, a sense that the universe was about to respond, and not in the way anyone expected. Then, in the distance, tiny blips appeared on the radar. At first they were small, almost insignificant, but they multiplied, moving closer, growing larger and brighter until the crew could see them even through the viewport. Alien ships, sleek, enormous, and terrifying, loomed on the horizon of space. They were the predators of this sector, beings that had crushed entire fleets without effort, creatures who believed no life form could defy them. The crew held their breath. The aliens did not fire immediately. They moved with an eerie calm, circling the Eos as if studying it. Their movements were precise, deliberate, and filled with quiet menace. Mara felt a chill run down her spine, but it was not fear, at least not entirely. It was respect, a deep instinctive understanding that these beings were powerful, and that the humans were very small. But small did not mean weak. The crew's eyes followed the alien vessels as they maneuvered around Eos. Engineers and medics paused, forgetting their fatigue. Even the youngest cadets on the ship felt a strange surge of pride. Somehow, against all logic, humans were still standing, and the aliens knew it. They sensed it. They could feel the unshakable determination radiating from the tiny human ship. Mara stood, straightening her uniform despite the sweat and blood staining it. She turned to her crew. "We are alive," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "We have sent our call. No matter what comes next, we will face it. We fight because we must. We survive because we can. Remember that." A strange silence followed. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of understanding. The humans aboard the Eos were battered, yes, but they were not defeated. They were more than survivors. They were warriors, thinkers, and dreamers. And whatever came for them, the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not to be underestimated. The blips grew closer, the alien fleet drawing near. And somewhere deep in the minds of those distant creatures, a ripple of fear began. For the first time in centuries, they saw something they could not predict. Something dangerous. Something human. The Eos held its course, battered but unbroken. And in the cold, dark void of space, a small human ship sent a signal that would shake the galaxy. The alien fleet arrived with silent precision. Enormous ships, sleek and black, emerged from the void like shadows given form. Each vessel was larger than any human city, bristling with weapons that could reduce a planet to dust in minutes. Their engines glowed faintly like angry stars, casting cold light over the battered Eos. For a moment, the humans aboard held their breath. The silence was heavier than any alarm or warning. Captain Mara stood on the bridge, her hands gripping the edge of the console. "They're here," she whispered. Her voice was calm, but her heart pounded like a drum. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Some had never seen anything so immense, so terrifying. Yet beneath the fear, a strange spark flickered, pride. Humans were facing this impossible force head-on, and they were still standing. The aliens did not attack immediately. Instead, they drifted closer, studying the tiny human ship. The radar showed a precise, almost calculated movement, as if they were trying to understand what they faced. Mara noticed the patterns. The aliens' formation was not chaotic. It was observation, assessment. Even they seemed unsure of what a fragile, battered ship like the Eos could do. Lieutenant Cade leaned over her shoulder, whispering, "Captain, why aren't they firing?" Mara shook her head slowly. She had a feeling, a quiet certainty. "Because they are." "Afraid," she said softly. Cade's eyes widened. "Afraid?" he echoed, his voice barely audible. Mara nodded. "They have never faced humans like us before. They can sense it. The stubbornness, the will to survive. That scares them." Across the bridge, the crew absorbed her words. Fear did not vanish, but it transformed into something stronger. Determination. Even the medics and engineers, tired and wounded, straightened their backs. Every hand on the ship's controls trembled slightly, but none let go. They were humans, and humans never gave up. The aliens sent a message, a strange, vibrating communication that the human translators could barely interpret. The words repeated over and over, a chorus of confusion and alarm. Impossible. Anomaly. Fear. How? The crew stared at the console, their faces pale. Mara's lips pressed together. She realized something incredible. The aliens were shocked. "Shock or fear?" muttered Ensign Lyra. Mara's eyes met hers. "Both," she replied. "They expected a surrender. They expected us to die quietly. But we are human. We don't surrender quietly." The Eos trembled slightly as the aliens adjusted their positions. They had weapons, yes, and power unlike anything humans had ever seen. But for the first time in centuries, the predators of the galaxy were cautious. They watched the humans, waited for mistakes, and found none. Mara felt a surge of pride. Her crew was tiny, injured, and outmatched, but not defeated. Not yet. Hours passed. The alien ships drifted around Eos, scanning, probing, testing. Mara and her crew did not stop working. Engineers repaired damaged shields. Medics tended to the wounded, and the bridge crew monitored every movement. The humans were alive, breathing, thinking, and that alone unsettled the aliens. Finally, Mara spoke, her voice calm but firm. "We are still here," she said. "We are still standing, and we will fight if we must." Her words carried through the ship like a beacon. It was more than a statement. It was a warning. Humans, even battered and outnumbered, were not easy prey. Cade glanced at the viewport, at the massive alien fleet surrounding them. He swallowed hard. "They're scared of us?" he asked again. Mara nodded, her eyes burning with quiet fire. "Yes, and that fear is ours to hold on to. We will use it if we have to." For the first time, the crew of the Eos realized the truth. Humans were small, fragile, and seemingly ordinary. But their spirit, their courage, and their refusal to give up were powerful weapons no alien could measure. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. Now the humans of Eos would prove why that was a mistake. Outside, the alien fleet shifted, hesitated, and for a moment the void was filled with quiet tension. The hunters had arrived. The humans were ready. And somewhere deep in space, the galaxy began to take notice. These humans were different. Terrifyingly different. The silence of space shattered in an instant. The alien fleet opened fire. Brilliant streaks of energy tore through the void, striking the Eos with a force that made the ship tremble. Alarms screamed. Sparks flew. Fire erupted along the corridors. The crew was thrown to the floor, coughing from smoke, their hearts hammering. Captain Mara's hands flew across the console, issuing commands. "Shields up. Divert all power to engines. Target their flagship." Her voice was steady, but inside a storm of fear and adrenaline raged. The humans were battered, tired, and outnumbered, yet every eye on the bridge burned with determination. Lieutenant Cade barked orders. "Engineering, brace for impact. Med bay, prep for casualties. Weapons, return fire." The crew moved with precision, their training kicking in even as fear tried to claw at their minds. Sparks sizzled across the bridge floor, but no one stopped. Every human on Eos knew what it meant to survive. Every decision, every action could save them or doom them. The alien blasts tore into the ship, ripping through metal and twisting systems, yet the humans fought back with ferocity. The ship's cannons fired with sharp, precise bursts. Targeting systems, though damaged, worked with uncanny accuracy. The aliens, massive and powerful, had never faced such unpredictable attacks. The humans moved in ways that made no sense on paper, dodging, weaving, striking at weak points, retreating only to attack again. The bridge crew watched in disbelief as the alien flagship shuddered under repeated human strikes. Mara's mind raced, calculating angles, distances, and timings. Every move was a gamble, every shot a risk, but humans thrived on risk. They adapted, they improvised, and they endured. Below deck, the crew struggled to keep life support and engines running. Sparks and smoke choked the corridors, but engineers refused to give up. They worked with bare hands, patching wires, sealing hull breaches, and keeping the EOs alive. Each small repair was a victory. Each breath taken in the smoke-filled hallways was a triumph. Humans fought not only with weapons, but with sheer will. Hours passed in a blur of fire and flashing lights. The alien fleet, massive and terrifying, began to hesitate. They had expected an easy victory, but the humans refused to break. They adjusted, attacked, and countered in ways no one had predicted. Mara saw it on the screens. The aliens were confused. Even the largest vessels faltered under the tiny, relentless human ship. Ensign Lyra, young and trembling, whispered, "Captain, they're scared of us." Mara didn't answer immediately. She watched the viewport, feeling the truth of it deep in her bones. "Yes," she finally said. "They've never faced humans like this. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. We are human. We do not surrender." The EOs took heavy damage, but it did not stop. Every human aboard pushed past exhaustion, past pain, past fear. Their small ship danced between alien fire, striking where no one else could, surviving where no one else would. The bridge smelled of smoke and burnt circuits, yet the crew's eyes shone with life, defiance, and unshakable resolve. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the EOS landed a critical blow. A direct hit on the alien flagship's main reactor caused a massive explosion. Energy surged outward, ripping through the formation. The other alien ships recoiled, faltering under the unexpected assault. Silence returned, broken only by alarms on the human ship. Captain Mara allowed herself a brief, sharp breath. She looked at her crew, their faces streaked with soot and blood. "We did it," she said, though her voice was soft. They had survived the first strike. They had shown the galaxy, and the aliens, that humans were not weak. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the shock waves from the battle spread. Alien fleets across the sector would feel the tremor. A tiny human ship had fought back against overwhelming odds and lived. And in that moment, every human aboard the EOS knew one undeniable truth. They were not just survivors. They were warriors, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The EOS floated among the ruins of space, battered and smoking. The alien fleet, though still massive and deadly, had faltered. The humans had survived the first strike, but survival was not enough. Captain Mara knew that if they did not act now, the fleet would regroup and finish them. She stood on the bridge, her uniform scorched and stained, eyes burning with determination. "We've made them hesitate," she told her crew, "but hesitation won't save us. We have one chance to turn this fight around, one chance to survive, and we must take it." Lieutenant Cade's face was tense. "Captain, we're low on weapons, low on engines, and shields are barely holding. If we push any harder—" He stopped, unable to finish. Mara looked at him and shook her head. "We have to. That's what being human means. We fight when hope seems lost. We survive when the odds are against us. That is who we are." The crew listened, their exhaustion heavy, yet their spirits ignited. Engineers scrambled to divert every ounce of power to the engines. Weapons officers recalibrated cannons with trembling hands. Medics prepared for casualties, though everyone silently hoped they wouldn't need them. The ship itself seemed to sense the crew's determination, its damaged hull groaning but moving, carrying them toward the impossible. Mara activated the main console. "We'll perform a weaving maneuver," she ordered. "We'll dodge their fire, strike where they cannot predict, and aim for the flagship. If we succeed, we cripple them. If we fail—" Her voice trailed off, but her eyes never wavered. The crew understood. Failure was unthinkable, but giving up was not an option. The EOS lunged forward, weaving through space like a dancer in zero gravity. Alien plasma fire streaked past, scorching the void but missing the ship. The humans moved with precision, anticipating every attack, every countermeasure. Each maneuver tested the limits of the ship, and each time the EOS responded, battered but alive. Mara's hands flew over the controls, calculating angles, distances, and timing. Cade called out adjustments, firing cannons at critical points in the alien fleet. Every shot was deliberate, every strike a gamble. Yet the aliens could not predict the humans' ingenuity. The fleet had never seen a small ship move like this, dodging, striking, and disappearing again before they could respond. The flagship loomed ahead, massive and menacing, a fortress of alien power. Mara gritted her teeth. This is it. Target their main reactor. Give everything we have. Weapons officers obeyed, their fingers trembling but steady. Cannons fired in unison, energy beams striking the flagship with precision that seemed impossible. Sparks and explosions flared across its surface. The alien fleet recoiled, disoriented. They had expected humans to fight back, yes, but not like this. Not with such cunning, courage, and relentless determination. Fear began to ripple through the fleet, alien minds struggling to comprehend what a single human ship could accomplish. Below deck, engineers cheered quietly as systems held. Medics whispered prayers, not for themselves, but for their comrades on the bridge. Every human aboard EOS understood they were making history, though none of them fully grasped the scale. They were humans, small, fragile, and yet unstoppable when united. Finally, the flagship shuddered violently, its systems failing. Energy surged outward, causing explosions that rocked the surrounding ships. The alien fleet, once confident and terrifying, staggered, their formations broken, their confidence shattered. Captain Mara allowed herself a brief moment to breathe, but only briefly. She turned to her crew, her voice steady but filled with quiet fire. We are human. We fight when hope is gone. We survive when the odds are against us. Today we have shown the galaxy who we are. Never forget this. The crew cheered softly, exhaustion and triumph mixing in their voices. Outside, the void of space was still dark, still dangerous, but the humans had shifted the balance. They were no longer prey. They were the hunters. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy began to take notice. The humans of EOS were not just survivors. They were something far more dangerous, relentless, clever, and unyielding. The alien flagship trembled violently, sparks and flames erupting from its hull. The surrounding ships hesitated, unsure of what to do next. They had faced countless enemies before, conquered entire star systems, and crushed civilizations without effort. But they had never encountered humans like these. One small ship, battered and scarred, had turned the tide of battle. One ship had made an entire fleet hesitate. Captain Mara stood tall on the bridge, her uniform torn, her face streaked with sweat and soot. Her voice was calm but carried power.
"We are still standing," she said.
Her crew looked at her, faces tired but shining with pride. They had survived impossible odds. They had fought against the strongest alien fleet in the sector, and they had won this round. Lieutenant Cade's hands shook slightly as he watched the alien ships on the viewport. "Captain, they're scared," he whispered. Mara nodded. "Yes, they have never seen determination like ours. They thought we would break, but humans do not break." The words seemed to echo in the silence of the bridge, filling every corner of the ship with a quiet, unyielding strength. Word of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Star systems far away picked up the energy surges, the shockwaves of the fight, and the extraordinary precision of the tiny human ship. Rumors turned into reports, and reports turned into disbelief. How could such small creatures survive against forces that dwarfed entire planets? How could humans fight with such ferocity, cunning, and relentless will? Alien commanders across the sector sent urgent messages to one another. Their words were filled with fear and confusion. They cannot be defeated. How? Impossible! We underestimated them. Anomaly. Dangerous. Humans had become the center of galactic attention. A species once considered insignificant, fragile, and primitive had revealed a power that none had truly understood. Back on the EOS, the crew worked quietly to stabilize their ship. Fires were extinguished, hull breaches sealed, systems repaired. Each human, though exhausted, felt a strange pride, a bond deeper than any fear or pain. They were not only surviving for themselves, they were proving to the galaxy that humans were something extraordinary. Captain Mara took a deep breath and activated the ship's communication console. She did not send threats. She did not demand surrender. She only said what was true. We are humans. We fight, we survive. We endure. Let all who hear this know it. Her voice carried across space, reaching fleets and colonies, systems and planets. Some trembled in fear. Some listened in awe. But all knew this. Humans were not to be underestimated. Humans were not weak. Humans were unstoppable when cornered, clever when outnumbered, and relentless when driven. On the bridge, Lieutenant Cade looked at Mara, his voice trembling with emotion. "We did it. We really did it." She smiled faintly, her eyes still burning with fire. "We showed them who we are. That is enough. For now." Outside, the alien fleet slowly retreated, their confidence shattered. They had faced humans before, but never like this. Never with such unity, such courage, and such terrifying ingenuity. They would carry the memory of this battle, the memory of a single human ship that dared to challenge a fleet back to their home worlds. And the story would spread. The galaxy would remember. Somewhere far across the void, other species whispered the same word with awe, fear, and respect: humans. The crew of the Eos was battered, exhausted and wounded, but they were alive. And more than alive, they were victorious. They had fought against impossible odds and emerged not only intact, but triumphant. They had proven that humans were not just survivors. Humans were legends in the making. Captain Mara looked at her crew one last time before leaning back in her chair. "We are human," she said softly, "and the galaxy will never forget it." The Eos floated through the void, scarred but unbroken, a symbol of human courage and tenacity. And somewhere in that vast darkness, the galaxy began to see what humans had always known. Strength is not measured by size or numbers, but by heart, will, and the refusal to give up. The Eos drifted through the aftermath of the battle, its hull battered, engines smoking, and crew exhausted beyond words. Yet on the bridge, Captain Mara stood tall, her eyes glowing with quiet fire. Around her, the humans moved with careful precision, tending to wounds, repairing systems, and keeping the ship alive. They were tired, broken, and bleeding, but unbroken. Mara turned to the communication console. She had one task now, one chance to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. "Prepare the broadcast," she ordered. Her voice was calm but carried a weight of authority. Every crew member paused, listening, knowing that what came next would be more than a signal. It would be a declaration, a statement of who they were and what humanity could do. Lieutenant Cade hesitated, his hands hovering over the controls. "Captain, this will reach every system in the sector, every race. Some will fear us, some may attack, others may respect us. Are we ready for that?" Mara looked at him with steady eyes. "We've been ready our whole lives, Cade. This is who we are. Let them see the truth. We are humans," the console hummed to life. Mara pressed the transmit button. Her voice, calm yet firm, carried across the void of space. "We are humans. We fight, we survive. We protect our own. Let all who hear this know it. There were no threats, no ultimatums. Only truth. Only the simple, undeniable fact that humans existed and they refused to be crushed." Mara knew that words alone could not fully convey the spirit of her crew, but she hoped it would inspire awe, respect, and fear in equal measure. Across the galaxy, alien fleets intercepted the broadcast. Ships stopped mid-maneuver. Commanders paused, their eyes widening as the words echoed through communication channels. For the first time, every intelligent species realized that humans were not merely a small, fragile race. Humans were something else entirely. They were clever, fearless, and unyielding. On the bridge of the Eos, the crew listened as messages from distant fleets started to trickle in. Curious, confused, and cautious communications. Some offered alliances, some asked questions, some simply trembled in fear. The galaxy was awake now, watching humanity, and humanity had shown that even a single small ship, filled with tired but determined people, could challenge the strongest forces in the sector. Mara turned to her crew, pride swelling in her chest. "This is more than a fight," she said softly. "It's a message, not just to our enemies, but to everyone watching. We are humans. We will not break. We will not surrender. We endure." Lieutenant Cade nodded, his face streaked with soot and sweat. "They'll remember us now," he said. "They can't ignore us." Mara allowed herself a small, rare smile. "Let them remember," she replied. "Let them remember that humanity never gives up." The crew worked quietly, patching the Eos, tending to injuries and preparing for whatever came next. They knew this would not be the last battle. They knew some would fear humans and some might come to challenge them. But one truth was undeniable. Humanity had revealed its strength, its courage, and its unwillingness to bow to fear or force. As the Eos limped toward a nearby human colony for repairs, the ship itself seemed to carry a new energy. It had survived the impossible, and so had its crew. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were more than fragile beings. They were warriors, thinkers, survivors, and champions of their own destiny. Captain Mara looked out at the endless stars, her heart swelling with hope and determination. Somewhere deep in the vast darkness of space, the galaxy had heard humanity's message, and for the first time, every corner of the universe knew that humans were a force that could not be ignored, a species whose courage and will could inspire awe and fear in equal measure. The Eos had survived, and humanity had spoken. The galaxy would never forget it. The Eos drifted silently through space, scarred and battered, yet alive. Its hull bore the marks of countless strikes. Engines sputtered unevenly, and alarms still wailed faintly in damaged corridors. The crew, exhausted and bruised, moved slowly but with purpose. Every human aboard knew they had survived the impossible, but survival alone was not enough. Humanity had a message, and Captain Mara intended to deliver it. On the bridge, Mara stood tall, her uniform torn, her face streaked with sweat and soot. Her eyes burned with quiet determination. She glanced at her crew, each of them battered, bleeding, tired, but their eyes reflected the same fire she felt within. They had fought an entire alien fleet and lived, and now they would tell the galaxy exactly who humans were. Lieutenant Cade hovered near the communication console, fingers trembling slightly. "Captain, if we broadcast this, every race in this sector will hear it," he said softly. "Some will respect us. Some may fear us. Some may even attack us. Are we ready for that?" Mara did not flinch. "We've been ready all along," she said firmly. "This is not just a signal. This is a declaration. Let them see the truth. We are humans." Mara pressed the transmit button, and her voice echoed through space, calm but firm, carrying weight and authority. "We are humans. We fight, we survive. We endure, we protect our own. Let all who hear this know it. There were no threats, no demands. Only truth. Only a simple, undeniable declaration that humans existed and they would not be crushed." Her words carried a power beyond any weapon. They carried the courage, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit of an entire species. Across the galaxy, alien fleets intercepted the transmission. Ships slowed mid-flight. Commanders froze, staring at their consoles in disbelief. They had faced countless opponents before, defeated entire civilizations and ruled entire sectors. Yet never had a tiny, battered human ship commanded such attention. Never had a species so small revealed such force of spirit. The words repeated in alien minds over and over. "We fight. We survive. We endure." A ripple of fear, respect, and awe spread throughout the galaxy. Some species whispered quietly to one another, wondering if they had underestimated humans for too long. Others sent urgent reports back to their homeworlds, warning of this strange, dangerous race. On the bridge of the Eos, the crew listened as messages from distant fleets and colonies began to arrive. Questions, requests, even hesitant offers of alliance poured in. The humans had made their mark. They had shown that despite being outnumbered, outgunned, and wounded, humans were not weak. They were clever, resourceful, and unyielding. They were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was terrifying. Mara turned to her crew, her voice soft but firm. "This is more than a fight. This is a message, not just to our enemies, but to the entire galaxy. We are humans. We will not break. We will not surrender. We endure." Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning and pride. Lieutenant Cade wiped sweat from his brow, a faint smile crossing his face. "They'll remember us now," he said. Mara allowed herself a small, rare smile. "Yes," she said quietly. "Let them remember. Let them remember that humans never give up, no matter the odds." Below deck, engineers worked tirelessly to patch damaged systems. Medics treated the wounded, and even the youngest cadets moved with purpose, knowing they were part of something far greater than themselves. Humanity had sent a signal not only of survival but of hope, courage, and strength. The Eos limped toward the nearest human colony, still carrying its scars, still glowing with the fire of defiance. Somewhere across the void, the galaxy had heard humanity's voice, and for the first time, all knew the truth. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. Captain Mara gazed at the stars, her heart swelling with pride. The battle had been won, but more importantly, a message had been sent. The galaxy would never forget humanity again. The Eos drifted slowly toward the nearest human colony, its hull battered, engines still sputtering, yet alive. The stars stretched endlessly around it, silent witnesses to a battle the galaxy would never forget. On the bridge, Captain Mara stood tall, her uniform torn and stained, her face streaked with soot and sweat. Around her, the crew moved quietly, exhausted but proud. They had survived the impossible, and the galaxy had witnessed it. Lieutenant Cade leaned against a console, rubbing a bruise on his arm. "Captain, do you think they'll really remember us?" he asked softly. Mara's eyes were distant, thoughtful, yet steady. "They will," she said quietly. "The galaxy will never forget what humans can do when they fight, when they refuse to surrender. They will remember our courage, our will, and our spirit. They will remember that humans are unstoppable when cornered." The news had already begun to spread. Across countless star systems, beings of all kinds whispered in disbelief. A single human ship, battered and small, had faced an overwhelming alien fleet and survived. Not only that, the humans had struck back with ingenuity, courage, and cunning that defied logic. Entire alien fleets trembled at the thought. Stories spread from one sector to another, carried by signals, rumors, and intercepted messages. Humans were dangerous. Humans were unbreakable. Below deck, the crew worked quietly to repair the Eos. Medics treated wounds, engineers patched engines, and cadets carried supplies with silent determination. Every action, no matter how small, carried the weight of history. They were not just maintaining a ship, they were preserving a symbol. The Eos was more than a vessel. It was proof of humanity's resilience, determination, and heart. Captain Mara walked slowly through the corridors, placing a hand on the shoulder of a young engineer. "We did it," she whispered, her voice full of pride. The young human nodded, eyes wide, understanding that their small actions, combined with courage and unity, had changed the galaxy's perception forever. When the Eos finally entered orbit around the colony, signals began to flood in, messages of relief, celebration, and awe. Humans everywhere were inspired by the bravery of a few who had faced the impossible. Children looked up at the stars, dreaming of one day exploring space, one day joining the ranks of those who had shown the galaxy the meaning of human strength. Mara returned to the bridge, standing before the viewports, gazing at the distant planets and stars. She thought of the alien fleets that had tried to destroy them, of the battles they had fought, and of the message they had sent across the galaxy. Humanity had proven that strength is not measured by size, numbers, or firepower alone. It is measured by heart, will, and the refusal to give up. Lieutenant Cade stepped beside her. "Captain, what now?" he asked. Mara smiled faintly. "Now we endure. Now we grow. Now we remind the galaxy that humans exist, and that we are unstoppable when we fight for what we believe in. The Eos may be damaged, but our spirit is stronger than ever." The stars shimmered around them, silent and eternal, as if acknowledging the truth of her words. Somewhere, across countless light years, other species recorded the story of a tiny ship and its brave crew. They would remember the humans who refused to bow, who refused to die quietly, and who taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. To underestimate humans is to court disaster. Captain Mara turned to her crew, her voice soft but firm. "We are human. We survive, we endure, and the galaxy will never forget it." And so the Eos limped into the history of the stars, a battered ship carrying the legacy of a species that refused to be ignored. The galaxy had been shocked, humbled, and awakened. Humanity had shown its strength not through sheer size, not through endless armies, but through courage, unity, and the relentless spirit of survival. The crew of the Eos looked out at the stars one last time together. They were tired. They were wounded, yet they were unbroken. Humanity had sent a signal, faced the impossible, and emerged victorious. And from that day forward, across the galaxy, one truth was clear. When humans call for help, when humans fight, when humans endure, no force, no matter how great, can ever truly stop them.